a trolley here. We did. Actually, I'm kidding. I wish we did, though. Inside the Moscone Center is where we will be for all of our coverage. The coverage continues throughout the evening on ESPN, and so glad that you're with us here. NFL Live, guys, we've made it to the Super Bowl. Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes, Ryan Clark, Dan Orlovsky. It's good to see everybody. And yes, we did coordinate our outfits. Look at that.
Hey, Boogie.
What's up with the jacket, the leather jacket?
He looks stylish.
First of all, shout out to my dog, RC, for the plug.
Oh.
That's number one. Andre Julius made this.
And my dog Clean.
And I got some more.
Great.
Yeah, some more.
All right, so the fits are going to be popping here
Friends
at Super Bowl
doing
week.
things for friends. That's what life is
That's
about.
What they call it is
cow.
people helping people.
That's the motto of our show, unless it applies to you.
All
Dan.
right.
Just kidding. All right, let's get right into the Super Bowl. And for that, we welcome in Sal Palantonio, who's going to be with us throughout the week, of course. And Sal, you are with the Patriots. You're just at the team hotel. What is the latest on Drake Maye and that shoulder and the Patriots' mood?
Well, the Patriots have the day off. Very relaxed mood here at the Patriots Hotel in Santa Clara. We were just in the team hotel, and we saw a number of players get in cars and take off for the day and enjoy the day. It's a beautiful day here, as everybody knows, here in the South Bay, approaching 70 degrees, and they're happy to have the day off because it's back to work tomorrow on Wednesday at Stanford in Palo Alto for the first big practice of Super Bowl 60 week. But yesterday, on Monday, Drake Maye threw the football and was happy with his progress on his right shoulder. Listen to this.
I'll be just fine. Yeah, I threw a good bit. I threw as much as I would in normal practice, and felt great. And looking forward to getting back out there in the Wednesday and Thursday for practice again, and Friday, and get ready to get a normal week of prep.
Now, was no pool reporter yesterday. Customarily, no pool reporter on Monday. So you didn't have a reporter to go out there and see how he was throwing, but I was told by everyone here that he looked good and that he was throwing freely with no problems. But on Wednesday, tomorrow, there will be a pool report, and we'll get an update on Drake Maye. We'll also get an injury and practice report. And I didn't go with the leather coats or jackets. I went with the cardigan, a little old school. Since this is my 34th Super Bowl, I decided to get that relaxed look,
Sal, you can't hide class, and you got it going on. We love to see it.
Sal always look good.
I love it. And only Sal would tell you about the pool reporter. That's not a swimming pool, okay? That's just a reporter that reports for everybody. All right, during the regular season, the Seahawks defense had the 5th best pressure percentage in the NFL. We want to spend some time on this. More than a third of all opponents' dropbacks. In the playoffs, they've actually upped their game there a little, but they are blitzing far less. That could spell an issue for Drake Maye, who is getting sacked 5 times a game this postseason. Mina, when you look at this matchup, specifically between that Seattle D-line and the Patriots O-line, how much trouble is Maye in?
It's concerning. I mean, Drake Maye's taken so many sacks, and I think what's most concerning is of those 15 sacks, 11 have come with just a 4-man rush. As you laid out, Seattle doesn't blitz very much outside of 3rd and long, and the 4-man rush has been really good. It's different from the ones New England has faced. It's not like Houston where they're just kind of the dominant edge rushers, but I think they're built in a way to take advantage of some of the, I would say, the core problems that have plagued the Patriots. So the left side of the Patriots offensive line has been an issue. It's very young. Seattle, maybe they don't have a dominant edge rusher, but they're so good at overloads and also moving their pieces around the defensive tackles, Leonard Williams in particular, aligning him to basically hunt your weakness. And then the other thing they do is they speed you up. They may not blitz a lot, but they sure as hell make it look like they're going to blitz.
Buddy.
So as a quarterback, even though only 4 are coming, you're constantly thinking, oh, shoot, we got, there's an overload on the left side. I got to get this ball out hot. And then you don't, and then suddenly you got big bodies in your throwing windows. So even if the 4-man rush, they don't have Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter Jr., you could argue they're just as dangerous in a different way.
Yeah, those 15 sacks are the most a quarterback has ever had that's made it to the Super Bowl.
That's crazy.
The most. I think Joe Burrow a couple years ago had that 13 and made it. So realistically, the New England Patriots, because of all that, shouldn't even be here when it comes to at least that statistic. I think we get caught up in talking about pressures or fronts, and we only think it's passing situations and 3rd downs. When you're going against Seattle, it has to be an every down thing for New England. So, number one, how do they handle the interior part of their defensive line? Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams, I think you got to trap them. I think you got to wham them in the run game. That's going to be a big deal. I think, 2, you got to screen them and draw them on 2nd downs. This defensive front, if you just allow them to play one-dimensional, they're going to get after you. I think the 3rd thing is, you talked about the overload, Mina. I think you always got to send numbers to the overload and chip the backside. You have to help. And obviously it's all tied together. But if New England thinks, oh, we'll just have a focus of pressure or front on third down, the first and second down, you get eaten
But also
alive.
those pressure release valves, they tackle so well. So you get the ball out in space and suddenly the guy's being taken down.
Well, the hybrid helps them play that way, Nick, in Warrior.
Sure.
But I'm a RC. Did you?
Yeah, go ahead,
Oh,
RC.
wait, I thought Marcus was going.
No, listen, it doesn't matter. We're living free and loose.
You know, I just
my
said
turn.
something.
Scary, but
Honestly, when you look at this team, they
my
pressured
boy
at the
back.
third lowest rate of any team in all of the NFL. And you saw the numbers, only 13% in the playoffs. But I want them to up that, especially on third and long, because Nick Emanwari is such a large piece of what they can do up front. Here, this is the middle of the season, and you're going to see them bring Nick Emanwari into position to blitz, and we're going to drop Drake Thomas, and he's going to be the vertical hook. You see here, because of the way they align, the threat of pressure to the top of the field, Tyler Algier goes left first, and he's too late to get back down to get to Nick Emanwari. Now you're going to see Julian Love, who is healthy once again. And this is just a five-man rush. It's a fire zone, so you can have eyes on Drake Maye, and it gives them an opportunity to put pressure on the quarterback before he can identify where the open man or the vacated zone is. And once again, bringing Nick Emanwari and Kobe Bryant from the bottom of the screen, and you're going to add Tyrese Knight to the blitz, and it's a free hitter on Jacoby Brissett. When you look at what the Patriots have dealt with in the playoffs, it has been a ton of four-man rush, but I do believe on third and medium to long, you can get pressure on Drake Maye and maybe force him into some mistakes.
Would you do it on early downs, though, first and second for Seattle?
Well, it depends on the way that Josh McDaniels is calling the game. He's played everything so close to the vest in the playoffs because they've played so well defensively, and so you're going to have to get into run blitzes if you're going to blitz on those early downs.
Speaking of that, I mean, look, the opportunistic shots is what stands out for me with this offense. They've been able to convert in critical situations, critical down and distance, and it is quite frankly, it was why they won games.
Oh, yeah.
Both of these games in the playoffs. How will you be able to eliminate that? I use the Houston Texans defense because I remember Puka Nacua running a crosser and being open against Seattle. Will the DBs make these plays or will they give up these plays? And that to me is what Seattle is. You're not going to methodically move the ball on Seattle's defense.
Right.
You have to be explosive. And that's why we left the game last week when they played the Rams. Those were explosive offensive plays that they were able to score on or either getting down in distance. New England has kind of lived on that edge here for the last two playoff games that they've been in. And granted, it's been very similar. He had Patrick Surtain. He tried that. But then they went to the other side, hit a big third down. Max Hollins' big third down catch. You look at the Houston game. We talked about Stingley. RC hit him down the sideline late in that game. There will be a time or two where these opportunistic shots come, and who's going to make the play. And with this defense, you got to be very cautious because they are
I'll be
going to do
interested
it.
to see if they single him up often.
Also, too, though, the other thing, they play so much zone, so I don't expect it. And when you look at him, it's going to be who do you take the shot on? If I'm Josh McDaniels, I'm looking at Reek Woolen and Josh Jobe, right? If those are guys I can get in one-on-ones that we think we can run by them in some of these zones.
Create those opportunities. Seattle's going to play a lot of split safety, cover 4, cover 6. Get the safety to come down and get those one-on-ones, whether it's like Booty versus Woolen.
Matt Collins.
Yeah. And, you know, it was interesting, too, because obviously their last game against the Texans, you saw these guys that, you know, they're dealing with a really difficult defense. Drake Maye said one of the big emphasis for him was getting in and out of the huddle as quickly as possible. Against a defense like that, you got to communicate well. You got to think that factors in, too, with this Seattle defense. All right, big news today for the Giants, you guys, we want to get to. John Harbaugh has hired Matt Nagy to be his offensive coordinator. Nagy was the Chiefs OC last season. Now he gets a chance to call the plays as he did as the Bears head coach with Mitchell Trubisky and Justin Fields. Marcus, do you like this hire for Jackson Dart and the Giants?
Mitch Trubisky, 38 starts, 56 QBR. Justin Fields, 10 starts, 31 QBR. Nick Foles, 8 starts, 38 QBR. Andy Dalton, 6 starts, 39 QBR. That's been Matt Nagy's quarterbacks while he's been calling plays. No, I'm not confident. Okay, and I get what I get it. He's been around. He's been in Kansas City behind Andy Reid. Hopefully he brings some of that and the ability to play at a high level. He's dealing with a young quarterback. The Mitch Trubisky and the Justin Fields didn't work out. So look, this league is about results.
Sure.
This league is, you get judged on how do you develop guys. His development of young quarterbacks have been awful, and that's what that says. So I'm not indicting Matt Nagy as a bad coach. All I can look at is the last time you had two young quarterbacks, they didn't perform well. And now Jackson Dart, going into his second year, is going to be under his tutelage. It doesn't give me a lot of confidence, but maybe something has changed.
Yeah, this is not one of those slam dunk hires for me. When you go with a guy with experience, that experience has to be one that is successful. That experience has to be one that is productive. And we know this is the most important hire for John Harbaugh, that who is going to be teamed with Jackson Dart's progression, with Jackson Dart's progress to where he can be the quarterback who not only stays on the field, but a quarterback who adds to his game. And I don't believe that Matt Nagy is that person. I believe there's a reason he went from offensive coordinator to offensive coordinator, why Andy Reid felt like it was time to make a change, or maybe he had to move on. I don't love this hire for the New York Giants. As much as I was high on the John Harbaugh hire, I think I have to be in a wait-and-see position when it pertains to Matt Nagy.
I think the big thing, because Marcus makes a great point of how is he different as a coach from the experience of Mitchell Trubisky and Justin? Because when I think of Mitchell Trubisky and Justin at that time in their career, they were what? Young, talented,
athletic,
playmakers. How would we describe Jackson Dart right now?
Same way.
Yeah,
right? And so the development of those two young quarterbacks didn't happen, and the offense hasn't been great. So what's different? Like, what has Matt Nagy learned from his experience since then that maybe he wishes he did differently? Because those guys, Mitchell Trubisky and Justin, never struggled with physical ability and talent. They just never developed into quarterbacks. Like the ability to consistently play the quarterback spot rather than the playmaker spot. How does that change?
I'll focus on the last 2 years in Kansas City, right? It's always hard to know how much to take from Andy Reid because he's the play caller. What did Matt Nagy learn there? What can he bring with him to New York? And I think there's a lot in the passing game in terms of the way Kansas City used motion, formation to get guys open without the greatest group of skill players at that time. RPOs is going to be a big part of that. Was a big part in Kansas City. It'll be a big part of the offense in New York. I think the one thing, though, you'd really like to see that's different from Kansas City is the run game in Kansas City really just stems from the pass. It's just an extension of that, right? And Patrick has to make so many of those choices. A lot of them are tagged to RPOs. I don't think that's how you can do things in New York. You want this offense with Jackson Dart. I wouldn't say run first because that's kind of a archaic way of looking at it, but that should be the strength of this football team. So I think for Matt Nagy, that's the challenge here. You didn't run the ball well in Kansas City. New York, you've got challenges. You've got good backs. You've got some pieces. You've got a dual-threat quarterback. You got to figure out how to run the football.
I would love to see some of the things you see from Matt LaFleur in the run game, some of the creativity and also the versatility that you see in Green Bay, be some things you could try to implement in New York. I know it doesn't necessarily work like that, but Mina pointed to the creativity, the motion, and the movement of the pass game. I think some of that in the run game, especially with the Jackson Dart, who has talent.
But, y'all, the reality is this, right? The X's and O's are the X's and O's. We all look at game and we divulge in film all season long. We can tell if you're calling plays like ass. We know that you don't have a system and a scheme that should be conducive to somebody having success. I literally focused on the development of young quarterbacks because that's the situation he walking in. Jackson Dart has to be a better quarterback this year than he was last year, and that's how he'll be judged.
If his feet, it's everything about his feet. If they can't fix and consistently get his feet, I don't care what plays you're calling. It's not gonna become what it should be.
Yeah, and based on what happened last season, the last couple seasons, like Mina was pointing out, the Chiefs ranked 20th in total offense, 21st in scoring this season. Some of that had to do with their personnel, but you do have to look at it as some sort of indicator of what we might see. All right, coming up next, we've got to look to some more news. Todd Monken, hired by the Browns last week. He was introduced in Cleveland today. He inherits a QB room with Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, and Deshaun Watson. He spoke about that situation today.
Well, I think like any position on the team, that's still to be determined. Am I excited about Shedeur? Am I excited about all the quarterbacks in the room? Am I excited to coach this football team? Absolutely. I can't wait for them to get back and for us to get started. When you talk about who's going to lead this team, who has the it factor, who have those characteristics that the team wants to follow and believes in them because the ball's in their hand every down. This game's going to come down to 2-minute situations, 4-minute situations where you've got to be able to execute at a high level.
Okay, so we're going to get to what you think Todd Monken should do with this situation, but you noticed something about what he said there that was interesting, Dan.
Well, he only said Shador's name. He said all the quarterbacks in the room, but he had previously said Shador. Yeah, so everything about Cleveland is, okay, what is at least the starting point plan at quarterback? Shador Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, does Deshaun Watson factor into it all? There's 2 first-round picks. I just think it'll be really interesting because this guy, Todd Monken, has had a ton of success in multiple places with offensive football, in multiple different schemes, with multiple different players. I mean, Ladd McConkey was one of the best players in college football at Georgia.
Yeah.
One of the best. And I know he's a very good pro, but when he talks about playmaker and the ability to have the ball in their hands late in the game, if I was going to say one thing, it would be make it an open competition from day one.
Yeah.
Day one. And let's see. If there's not going to be a draft pick, let's see who the best guy is.
Well, I think that's exactly what you have to do. You have to breed competition in Cleveland. And I don't think Kevin Stefanski was able to do that last year. Sure. It seemed like he was set on doing things a certain way. All of these men have played starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns, and they've done it with varying levels of success and failures. You don't know what you have until you've put them in your system, until you run them through what it is to be the quarterback for your team. And you know you won't have necessarily the skilled players and players you need around them early, but if you find that guy, you can now build a team that needs to be built up from a roster standpoint in so many other places.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting because the draft is late April. This team will probably get started with their offseason stuff sometime third week of March or something like that. There's only about a month that Todd Monken can be around these quarterbacks to figure out, okay, are we going to use one of those 2 first-round picks on a quarterback, or are we going, nope, one of those 3 guys is going to be the guy this year?
I think when you start looking at some of these guys in the draft, I don't know if that's what you want to do when
that
you
would be
build
there
a team
when
with skill players with the 2 picks.
Yeah, it's a good. I mean, it's going to be a dilemma, and how is he really going to know enough about what they do on the field during that period of time?
Yeah,
right?
and I would say out of those 3 guys that are there, Deshaun, Shador, and Dylan, I just think watching Monken over the years, I would tell you that Shador's probably the most equipped to operate the offense that he wants. It's heavy play action. I think that's what he does well.
Okay, Monken also did say that Jim Schwartz is an outstanding DC, but declined to comment on his return. So we're still keeping an eye on what they do there. How about this? The Cardinals introducing Mike LaFleur as their new head coach, and that quarterback situation really interesting. They're trying to sort it all out, right? Kyler Murray still under contract, but there are questions about his future, as we know. LaFleur addressed that today.
Being in this division for 7 years, it was never fun. You know, I have a lot of respect, for him as a player. I know he got drafted in help me out there, is it 18 or 2019. So obviously those first 2 years, but again, having the 5 years having to go against him, a lot of respect for him as a player, and he was never a fun challenge to go against.
Peter Schrager joining us here. He'll be with us on NFL Live throughout the week as well. And Peter, what context can you add on Kyler Murray's situation going forward? Because that's the question everybody wants answered here.
How about that haircut on Mike LaFleur?
Woo!
Make a statement.
Look good. That's a new do.
That's one way to do it.
Kyler Murray is such an interesting one because the contract is there, and in 40 days, he'll get $20 million guaranteed if he's still on the roster. If they cut him in the next 40 days, they don't have to pay that and they can move on. Is that enough where you say, I want to wait and see and get through free agency and get through the draft process and see if there's anyone else out there? Truth of the matter is, Mike LaFleur said it. He's been in this conference, for this division, for 7 years, going from the Niners, of course, went to the Jets for a little bit, then back with the Rams. If anybody knows how dangerous Kyler is and what he thinks of Kyler, it is him. He's done the work on him. They're not going to give anything in an opening press conference, but I can tell you this. There is no sure thing that Kyler's out. They hired Mike LaFleur during those interviews with those coaches, and I talked to several different candidates who met with the Cardinals. They asked the Kyler question, and from what I gather, Mike LaFleur is not shutting the door on bringing Kyler back.
I think that makes sense because it's not an easy decision. To your point, they can cut him, but they would be taking a big cap hit, and there aren't that many quarterback options. It's hard for me to easily imagine them making a choice. I do think a trade would be more attractive to them if that's in the offing, so this could be them kind of putting out feelers and waiting and seeing. Yeah, I don't know what they should do at quarterback, but I do know this. I'm not surprised that they went in the NFC West for their head coaching hire, given how strong the coaches are on these teams, how successful that they've been. And while it's hard to know exactly what Matt LaFleur is responsible, or Mike LaFleur, pardon me, I'm not going to do that approximately 1 million times between now and then.
I was there for the press conference.
Oh, my
So you're
God.
not that far off. He was there.
I saw he was there, yeah. No,
cool.
Too many brothers. Okay, so, yeah, we don't know because Sean McVay is a play caller in L.A., but I do like the fact that he's been in that building, and it's an offense that's undergone a lot of change. Peter, you know this, covering the Rams so closely. This season, they switched from being primarily an 11 personnel team to using 3 tight ends. That's something Arizona loves to do. Their best skill player is a tight end. And they've also really evolved their run game in LA. It's changed a lot from being that wide zone rushing attack to more gap, more duo. So I'm interested in seeing the influence he has on the run game in Arizona because it's a run game that has struggled this season.
I would really just quickly add, I think a lot of people are looking at this as like they're the bridesmaid in the Clint Kubiak sweepstakes. They really liked Mike LaFleur. Clint Kubiak did go on to be the coach of the Raiders, but this does not feel like this is, oh, shucks, we didn't get Clint Kubiak. They were excited about LaFleur as well.
Hey, speaking of those brothers, these guys now, Mike and Matt, will be the 4th pair of brothers to serve as NFL head coaches. So it's running in the family.
Too many Mikes, too many Matts.
Yeah, right.
Bunch of Seans,
2 M's,
really.
alliteration. Oh, my goodness. All right, coming up, we got more to get to. We're going to dive in a little bit more on this target percentage and the second best completion percentage on throws of at least 20 yards this season. Okay, he will face a Patriots defense on Sunday that allowed a 29% completion rate on throws this season. On those throws, the 3rd lowest rate in the league. So stingy on that side. As we now welcome in Jeff Darlington, who's going to be covering the Seahawks for us all week long, and they're getting ready for Super Bowl 60. But Jeff, it was a decision that they made about a year ago at their team facility, thousands of miles away, that really propelled them to get to this point. Tell us more about that.
Well, Laura, this marks a sort of anniversary of sorts for wide receiver Cooper Kupp, thinking back to a year ago, exactly on this day, February 3rd, when he had posted to social media about the Rams' decision to seek a trade partner for Kupp. Now, Kupp had said at the time, I don't agree with the decision, and I always believed it was going to begin and end in L.A. Now, the Rams ultimately could not find a trade partner, and they released Kupp. And it was shortly after that Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald recalls reaching out to Kupp about joining the Seahawks, a decision he recalled just a few moments ago.
You knew Cooper Kupp through his reputation. Jake Peetz is on our staff. He's got a great relationship with Cooper. When it was first, we made it a point to, I think whenever the first time we were actually allowed to reach out to Coop, I had him on the line and just said, look, we don't get a lot of opportunities to really acquire a player like you. He's the term force multiplier. He's that with the receiver room. You can see it with the effect with a lot of our guys. That's rippled all the way throughout the whole team. Offense, defense, special teams, all 3 phases. He's helped me. And then to see him make plays in the championship game.
So literally about 10 minutes ago, I was asking Kupp about those comments, and I asked him to reflect on the year that has been. And he talked about what a challenge it was. He never really thought he was going to leave the Rams. He talked about what it was like to have to go to his family and to his kids and say, we're moving to a new place. And by the way, a place that we used to play twice a year as a member of the Rams. He said that ultimately he does feel rewarded. He feels vindicated by this step, but he said that's all going to be for another day to reflect upon. For right now, it's about potentially winning another Super Bowl, a Super Bowl which, by the way, he was the MVP of just 4 short years ago, Laura.
Yeah, I'm not sure people even remember that the way that they should, Jeff. Just great stuff from you. Cooper Kupp's been through a lot this season, as Jeff alluded to, and he takes the time to actually credit Sam Darnold's resiliency for inspiring him throughout some of his personal struggles this year. Dan, so much on Seattle's offense to get into. They've had success with 12 personnel this season. What will that look like, though, specifically against this Patriots defense?
I would be interested to see how New England handles it. Will they handle it by matching personnel or by being very down and distance centric? Because I think the challenge with Seattle's 12 personnel is they can do so much out of it. They can get easy completions, can run the football, they move those tight ends, they get that keeper game where they will run this 5 times a game, some version of this where Sam Darnold gets out on the perimeter And again, going to his left makes this a little bit unique. There's that 12 personnel. Once again, Sam now in the pistol. It's the same concept, essentially, for a quarterback 3, deep, mid, intermediate, and shallow. And then the ability to still line up underneath the center and take the shots down the field. This is one of the greatest offenses or best offenses in the league when it comes to, hey, 12 personnel, we want to take a shot down the field. And so when New England play with 3 linebackers on the field, will they keep it nickel? Will it be, hey, if it's 1st and 10, we want to play against the pass. If it's 2nd and 6, we want to put backers on the field to defend against the run. I just think how New England matches it from a personnel standpoint pre-snap is going to be fascinating.
I love that we're having this conversation now because you guys remember it's how we started the season, talking about 12 personnel. And Seattle, to me, is the case study for why you can be so explosive out of it. When they use it, and they use it at a pretty high level in terms of around the NFL, they have a 46% play action rate. That is more than 4 times how much they call play action out of 11 personnel. Woo. And when they throw play action out of 12 personnel, they average 13 yards of play. Wow. So it is how 13 yards of play, Dan. So it is how they access a lot of those explosives. Some of that is because they get defenses to put their base personnel, to your point about how they're matched. So we talked about at the beginning of the season, you put heavy bodies on the field. That's not just allowing them to throw on the linebackers with their tight ends. It also creates one called so many deep crossing concepts off of those 12 personnel looks. So if you're in New England, you're thinking, okay, we're not going to put 3 linebackers on the field.
But then you're dead in the run game.
And then Seattle, 12 personnel, the run game on nickel, 58% success rate running out of those, which is really, really good. They're 2 tight ends. They're not huge names, Barner and Saubert.
Awesome.
They're all-around tight ends. They are passing threats when they're open, and they're good blockers. So it creates this personnel matching problem for New England that, candidly, I don't know how I would solve.
Yeah.
What age do you turn after 12?
13.
13. And that's been something that they've been super explosive out of as well. 2 weeks off. I got to think that they want to show that look. There is a significant amount of success that this team has when they're in 13. They don't do it a lot. But early in the season, I went back to the Houston game because that's the comparable defense to when you start talking about how New England would maybe try to play this by getting extended into the block. And you force this team, like y'all said, you either in base or you in nickel. I'm sure you want to play 13 with base, and you still have the run game out of this. But this is those tight ends that you just mentioned, Mina, that can get to the 2nd and 3rd level and make plays. I think it creates 2 for Sam Darnold, easy, quick reads, because the defense in alignment in base as well. I brought this graphic because I thought it was super interesting going back and looking throughout the season. Week 1 through 7, it was 24 snaps
total
of 13 in total. Week 8 to the division round, only 9. It showed back up last week in the NFC Championship.
That helps.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think a lot of it really boils down to now with New England and the addition of Arroyo, who we saw catch that pass, you also have to plan for that as well with the success that they've had in 12 personnel. And one thing that has been really good about Seattle offensively, they've dictated a lot of your personnel from a defensive standpoint all season long?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to play to your strengths as well. When you're a good defense, you play what you're best in. And if you watch this team, they've kept linebackers on the field and they've been able to play the pass and vice versa. But the problem for them is nobody dangles chunk plays out there like the New England Patriots. And nobody hunts chunk plays like the Seattle Seahawks. To me, that's where this game is going to be won or lost. When you watch the playoffs, there were opportunities for teams, whether it's the Chargers, the Texans, or the Denver Broncos, to take shots over the top. They just couldn't connect outside of the one we watched Stidham hit to Marvin Mims. That is going to be the game for me. Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones have stood up the entire playoffs, but they haven't played a team, in my opinion, who can find chunk plays out of 12 personnel the way that the Seattle Seahawks can.
Really quick, I do think the return of Robert Spillane allows them to defend the run better out of nickel. I would over-index on coverage if I were them.
I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw a little bit of that 6-1 look that we saw from New England years ago against the Rams, where you keep the backers on the field, they can play the edges but also get into coverage. I just wouldn't be shocked by that.
I think that makes it difficult because this team passes to the flat so well.
Right.
And so now
is so good
exactly.
Right now.
So now when you have that 6-man box, you can get the ball to the perimeter. are so
between
quickly.
run concepts. That was like designed to stop outside zone. Seattle can say, cool,
Yes.
we're going to hit you with some gaps, some wham air traffic.
And handling pressure. I
Yeah.
think we see Shaheed get the ball early and often quickly in this football game as well.
He can make something happen quick, right? Man, it just illustrates how many matchup problems this Seattle offense provides.
You play down in distance to me.
You have to, right?
Yeah.
You play down in
And
distance.
who can
not
stay
personnel.
patient enough to do
I'm
that?
sorry.
Sorry. Okay, it's
We got a week. We got a week, y'all. We got a week.
I apologize.
I know.
got a week.
Listen, tune in all week. You'll hear a lot more of this, and you're not going to get analysis like this before the Super Bowl anywhere else. The moment Super Bowl 60 ends, by the way, Clint Kubiak is on the clock. How will the Raiders' new head coach rebuild this team? Here, who Dan says it starts with. Who's coming with him? That's coming your way next.
NFC